saying for all of you that when you apply Kirchhoff's voltage law, it's not necessary that directly there will be a connection between the two nodes. There may be very convoluted connection. But still there is a potential difference. We will take only that potential difference. So then what I write the equation is very simple, that VAN is equal to VAO prime minus NO prime. Now what it is, why it is? Look at it. If I write the Kirchhoff's voltage law, how do I write? VAN plus VNO prime plus VO prime A, this is equal to 0. Right? If I take it in anti-clockwise direction, all the three. So if I keep VAN in the left hand side, take the other two on the right hand side, then VNO prime, this becomes negative, and VO prime A, when it becomes negative, it becomes AO prime. So if you look at it, VAN is VAO prime minus VNO prime. So VAO prime minus VNO prime. This is VAN. Similarly, I can write VBN and VCN. So VBN will be VBO prime, VNO prime. And in these three equations, there is an interesting thing to be noted. Look at these three equations. VAN, BN, CN. What are these three voltages? These are the wattmeter potential coil voltages on the left hand side. VAO prime, BO prime, CO prime. What are these three voltages? These are the load voltages of the, phase voltages of the load. And what is VNO prime? This is just a quantity. Quantity what? Voltage between these 2 points. But that's a single voltage. VNO prime. So what I get is that now a very interesting three equations where these two voltages, AN, AO prime, that is phase voltage and the wattmeter voltage, they are now having a correlation in terms of another quantity, VNO prime. So what I can do, that in this equation, that is VPM, I can now replace this VAN, BN and CN by this right hand side, this equations. Then what happens? Then I get this, because then just this is very simple, right? If you substitute this in this, so what will happen? Then VAO prime into IA, VBO prime into IB, VCO prime into IC. They will be all added, and then minus VNO prime IA, VNO prime IB, then VNO prime IC. So see, we will have two components now. That measured power have two components. One is this, which involves the phase voltage and the phase current, and the other one is this. Now fine, that's quite okay mathematically. Now looking at this second term, if we consider that IA plus IB plus IC is equal to 0, then what happens? Then this term vanishes and only this term remains. And if I look at this term, this first one, and if you look at the load expression, they are same, which means that measured power is nothing but the load power plus one component. Now, if that component vanishes, then measured power is equal to the load power. And therefore, we can always say that if IA plus IB plus IC is equal to 0, then this connection, that what we are showing you, will be equal to the load power. That is the beauty of it, that this connection, which does not access anything with the load, just simply connecting in the line side, will give me the load power. But then there is a catch here, that it is not valid everywhere. So if somebody asks that this connection, where it fails, your answer will be that when the IA plus IB plus IC is equal to 0 is not valid, which indirectly means it doesn't work for 4-wire star. So as an electrical engineer, if this question is asked to you, and let me tell you one thing very clearly, 2 wattmeter method is one of the most commonly asked question in interviews in your third year or fourth year. You will definitely will face this question because it is so commonly used in life, and all our power engineers, they love to ask this question. So please remember it, that this connection is valid for delta connection, it is valid for three-wire star connection, irrespective of balanced and unbalanced, it is valid. Only one case it is not valid. It is also valid for four-wire star balanced condition. Why? Because four-wire star balanced, this IA plus IB plus IC is equal to 0. This is a valid condition. Only for unbalanced four-wire star, this condition and this connection doesn't work. Well, now that is fine. Now I am moving one step forward.
Sir, unbalanced connection IA plus IB plus IC 0 hobe.
And delta, if it is there, that will be valid because the third wire is not there, right? Because I told you, if it is a delta, if IA plus IB plus IC in the line does not hold good, then there will be no return path. Only in the four-wire star, that IA plus IB plus IC is equal to 0, it doesn't valid. So that you can show later on. So yeah, this connection works for delta, it connection works for three-wire star, but it doesn't work for four-wire star. So this is something please remember for this connection. But now there is a very interesting question comes, that I told you that this point N, it is physically where it is located doesn't matter. This connection will work because we have said that it is independent. I can put it anywhere. Now, if that is the case, then as a quite logical question you can ask me, now if I put this point N on the line C, I can do that, right? Because I said these 3 points were connected together. Now I am also connecting line C with this point N. Because it is electrical connection, I can simply take a wire and I can connect. What happens in that case? Then in that case, W1 and W2, this potential coil connection will change. Now this W2 will measure the voltage between line B and line C. This W1 will measure the voltage between line A and line C. But what happens to W3? Its potential coil. It is just connected across its current coil. Because please remember, this N is now connected to line C. What is the potential across the potential coil? That is the potential across the current coil, and that is theoretically 0. Even if it's practical, it is extremely small. So then what will be this wattmeter reading? I told you that wattmeter reading is potential coil, this voltage multiplied by the current coil current. Now if potential coil voltage is 0, this wattmeter reading is 0. But even then, W1 plus W2 plus W3 will be equal to the total power. Why? Because it is coming from this fundamental derivation. So W1 plus W2 W3 will be equal to the total power. But if you have 3 meters on your table, you will find that 2 meters are giving reading, 1 meter is giving you 0. Now, if that is the case, that W1 plus W2 plus W3 is equal to the total power and 1 meter reading is 0, then why should I use 3 wattmeters? Is there any reason that I should use 3 wattmeters? The answer is no. In our life, we never use 3 wattmeters. We use only 2 wattmeters. And the connection is that this point N, it will be on one of the lines. On one of the lines. Which line doesn't matter. So it will be, connection will be changed to something like this. Like this. See here, the connection is, here the point N is connected on line A. Because you see, the potential coils are all connected to line A. Similarly, connection B, where the potential coils are connected to line B, and connection C, where the potential coils are connected to line C. Anyone, of these three connections will work. So in your practical life, if later on, if you measure power, what you require is 2 wattmeters, and then connect the 2 current coils in series with any 2 lines, which line doesn't matter. Then take the potential coil, connect it across these 2 lines where you have connected the current coils, and simply connect the other point to the third line. That's it, it will work. And then whatever reading you are getting, W1 and W2, that summation W1 plus W2 is always the total power. This can be shown with the help of phasor diagram. That means this is based on connection B. So I will show again connection B. See, current coil is in series with line A and line C. Potential coil across AB, and this is something interesting. I forgot to mention that what is the potential difference across the potential coil? Is it CB or BC? That question will be answered, has to be answered. No? Here, actually, there is some convention because wattmeters are made like that. That this common point, wherever you make this common point of potential coil and current coil, the potential difference is measured from this point. That means if you look at W2, potential will not be BC, it will be CB. And if you take W1, it will be AB, not BA. So what is potential across W1? AB. That means VA minus VB. What is the potential across W2? VCB. That means VC minus VB. And what is the current? IA and IC. So look at the phasor diagram now. Exactly that is being shown. So VAO prime, which is VA. So VAB was the W1 voltage. So VA minus VB. So this is VB. And I am assuming source to be balanced. So 120 degree phase difference. So this opposite is the minus VB here. Then summation of this and this diagonal is VAB. Then VCB, so this is VC, this is minus VB, so summation of this to this diagonal is VCB. And these are the 3 phase currents, and if it is unbalanced, all these 3 angles will be different, theta A, theta B, theta C. Then what is the reading of W1? That is VAB, that is the potential difference across the potential coil, multiplied by IA, which is the current through the current coil. Then cosine of the angle between these two, which is cos of 30 plus theta. This is the angle difference. What is the reading of W2? This is VCB, that's the line voltage. Then, and what is the current? IC. Then what is cosine of the angle between these two? That is this one, that means 30 minus theta C. Now why it is 30? It is quite obvious, isn't it? Because this is VA and VB has 120 degree. So when you take minus VB, what is the angle between VA and minus VB? That is this dotted line is 60 degree. And source is balanced, so these two are equal. So this diagonal will bisect this angle, so this is 30 degree. And similarly for this side also. So W1 will be VAB into IA into cosine of 30 plus theta A. W2 will be VCB into IC into cosine of 30 minus theta C. This is typically the 2 equations as shown here. Now, this gives rise to certain very interesting observations, these 2 equations. By the way, if it is now balanced load, what happens? This is a balanced load connection, right? 2 wattmeters are connected to line B, the potential coils, as I was mentioning. Here, all the currents are same. So I will say IA is equal to IC is equal to line current, because this current coil is placed in the line, so it is measuring the line current. Then what is W1 voltage? It is VAB, so it is the line voltage. Then this one VCB. this potential coil. This is also line voltage. And the two phase angles, theta A and theta C, they will be equal because it is balanced. Let's say it is theta. So one will be W1 will be VL into IL into cos 30 plus theta. The W2 will be VL into IL into cos of 30 minus theta. That means in these two equations, VAB will be VL. Just look at this. See, VAB, this potential coil will be VL, IA is IL, cos 30 plus theta. Then VCB, this one is VL, then W2IC is IL. So VL into IL into cos 30 minus theta, because for a balanced load, theta A and theta C are same. So we get these two equations for balanced load, of course. Then W1 plus W2, if you add, you just do the addition, you will see that it comes root 3 VLIL cos theta. And this is exactly the equation that you got in your other class. That is what is the power in a balanced load. Now, this has to be true because we proved that this measurement is correct from the first principle. That means through that integration equation. So, whereas this is a derived equation from phasor diagram, so it has to give you the total power. Otherwise, there is something wrong with the phasor diagram. Now, there is very interesting observations. See, let's take the unbalanced case. This is now two equations. By the way, our power factors are not controlled by the source. Our factors are controlled by the load. So, if the load is, let us say, by one more thing I forgot to mention. See here, I have intentionally taken lagging power factor. Current is lagging the voltage. So this is a lagging power factor assumption because our power system, more than 80% cases is lagging. So these two equations is lagging. If it is leading power factor, what will be the change? This IA will come somewhere here, ahead of BA. And this IC will come here, lagging VC. So simply this equation will become, first one will become 30 minus theta, second one will become 30 plus theta. That's the only change that will happen if the equation is leading. So basic two equations remain same. Now load power factor, it is not in our hand. If I say that AFS power factor is 0.5, right? 0.5 means power factor angle is 60 degree. What happens to this expression? Cos of 30 plus 60. That means what will be the reading of W1? It is 0. Correct. Now, this is a very interesting thing we always ask, that let's say you are measuring power of some load. You have two wattmeters, you have connected it, then you are finding that one wattmeter is giving a reading, that say W2 is giving a reading, but W1 is 0, simply not giving any reading. Then immediately we can think that that wattmeter is faulty. You slap the wattmeter 2-3 times, nothing happens. It's still 0. So then what is your decision? That I have to get a new wattmeter. But no, it is a correct reading. Whatever you are getting is a correct reading. So please remember that in this 2 wattmeter method, 1 wattmeter showing 0 is not a wrong reading, it's a correct reading. Now if I say that I was telling for load power factor 0.5, Achha, who has told me load power factor 0.5? Nobody. It could be 0.2, very low. In that case, this theta A will be say 70 degree, 75 degree. In that case, what will be W1? Cos 30 plus 70, it is cos 100 degree. practical case. Please remember, it is not a theoretical case, that Fs power factor is extremely low. So this W1 will read negative. Now negative reading, how do we get? Now earlier we had a problem because all those were analog meters. Today you have no problem. This will be all digital wattmeter. So you will clearly get that W2 is reading plus 100, W1 is reading minus 20. Now what is your decision? That this wattmeters has gone crazy. This is totally crazy reading. But the fact is not that. It is not crazy. It is quite plausible, technically possible readings. So therefore, we always say in the 2-watt meters that there is a very clear-cut transition. That means if the power factor varies, there are two clear-cut zones. In one zone, both the wattmeter readings positive, and what is that zone? That is if the power factor is 0.5 or higher, or rather greater than 0.5. Another zone is power factor less than 0.5, then of course one wattmeter will be positive, another wattmeter will be negative. Another one is power factor exactly 0.5, then one wattmeter will be positive, the second will be 0. This is very, very typical reading of the 2-wattmeter method. And again, I repeat, this is what is asked in interview. And by the way, let me tell you, it is not only asked in a core company interview, it is also asked by TCS. This is, take it from me, because my friends are now all sitting in the interview board and they ask this question. Because they want to see that whether you have understood the basics of engineering. Because you will all be able to do software if you are given proper training, but whether you have understood the basics. Now, there is a very interesting experiment we can do to show this, because changing the power factor by varying the inductance, etc., is not so easy. But there is a very easy experiment we can do, and we will do in our lab whenever the lab is accessible. Take a motor, AC motor. Now, as in one class I was telling that all our fans, they are the AC motors. So take a 3-phase motor and connect 2 wattmeters, and then give supply to the motor, and then start the motor. Again, I repeat, take a 3-phase motor, connect 2 wattmeters, give supply to the 2 wattmeters, and start the motor. Let's see what happens. So once the motor, initially the motor is at standstill condition. Now the motor starts and its speed starts increasing. What happens is that you will come to know later that as the motor starts increasing its speed, its power factor gets changed. All AC motors at the starting has a very low power factor of the order of 0.2. And as the speed increases, its power factor increases, and as it reaches its normal speed, that is its full speed, its power factor is around 0.85, roughly. So what happens is, we have clearly all these zones in between. That means when the motor starts, it is less than 0.5. In between, it will become 0.5 for some speed. Then it will go above 0.5. So what these 2 wattmeters will show, exactly this theory will be demonstrated in front of your eyes. That when the motor starts, 1 wattmeter will be positive, the other will be negative. As you see that this negative reading will start decreasing, positive will increase. At one point of time, this 1 wattmeter will show 0. And then both the wattmeter will become positive and they will increase. And finally, they will reach its final value. This is a beautiful experiment. It's very simple but beautiful experiment which absolutely makes the theory of 2 wattmeter method clear to the students. In fact, I have done it when I was a student. I did this experiment in 1980, but I still remember it was so clearly visible, this effect, that I have never forgotten that how it works. So this is all explained here. You will get the note, so don't bother about that. By the way, what is the reactive power? Because if somebody asks that, can I get the reactive power? Well, if it is unbalanced load, the answer is you cannot get the reactive power. But if it is balanced load, then what we can do is, see, active power is obtained by W1 plus W2, W1 plus W2. But please remember that W1 and W2 are 2 meter readings. This is not mathematics, right? 2 meters in front of you, and they are giving 2 readings. As I said one is 100, the other is 20. So what I can do, instead of W1 plus W2, I can take W2 minus W1. So 100 minus 20. And mathematically, what is it? If I put the two equations, I find that it is VLIL sine theta, which means that reactive power of a ballast load, which is root 3 VLIL sine theta, is nothing but root 3 W2 minus W1. That means if one wattmeter reads 100, the other reads 20, it is simply 100 minus 20 multiplied by root 3. So if you take a calculator, just a matter of seconds, you will know the reactive power. So if you get the two readings, simply make the addition, you get the active power. Just make a small calculation as shown in this equation, you get the reactive power. Then somebody asks that, what is the power factor of the load? Of course, balanced. It's very simple, because W1 plus W2 is root 3 VLIL cos theta, as you can see from here. Then root 3 times W2 minus W1 is root 3 VLIL sine theta. So simply if I divide them, then I get tan theta is this. So please again remember that let's say W2 is 100 and W1 is 20. So take a calculator, just calculate this tan theta and then calculate cos theta. That's your power factor. Now see the power of a measurement, that 2 wattmeters, just by connecting them and taking the two readings, I can get so many information on power that this method is universally accepted as the method of three-phase power measurement. And all the meters, even if you are having a three-phase industry power and the power company is giving you the line, they put only these meters for measurement of power. This is the basic fundamental principle that goes behind it. I will show you one or two examples that will be very clear to you how it works. Good. This example, let us take.
Sir,
Yes.
power factor তো একটা constant মানে angle না, theta A বা theta C depending upon the
No, again I'm saying this power factor you can get only for balanced load, not for unbalanced load. That you cannot get. This equation, that tan theta, that whatever I am showing, this is only for balanced load. Because in
আমি
unbalanced
আনব্যালেন্সড জন্য বলছি যে থিটা এ আর থিটা সি যে দুটো অ্যাঙ্গেল ছিল, তো আপনি বললেন যে এক্সপেরিমেন্টটা করার সময় ভ্যালুগুলো মানে একবার নেগেটিভ তারপর জিরো মানে এরকম ভাবে চেঞ্জ হবে, তো থিটা এ আর থিটা সি একটা নির্দিষ্ট ইম্পিডেন্সের জন্য
No, there is a small confusion. See, this experiment is on a single motor. It is a single three-phase motor, not three different motors. So on a single motor, these three phases are always balanced because it's one motor only and driving only one load. So we manufacture a motor always as a balanced one. That means that A winding, B winding, C winding, we don't make them different. No? We make them identical. So if it is a single motor, it's a balanced load. But if you have three different motors on the A phase, B phase and C phase, then there is every possibility that your power factor will be different. But that we don't do. That experiment we don't do. We always do the experiment with a single three-phase motor, not with three motors in the three phases. So So that is what you will see later on. But please just remember this as a tip. Then you will, when you do later on, or even in your practical life, you will find it so easy to understand. But now let us look at this problem. That now you have to find out the readings on the 2-watt meters. Now, how do you do that? The voltage is given that it's a 440 volt system. That means the line voltage is 440. Phase sequence is ABC. Then
Sir,
how do you find it? Yes.
sir, during that experiment which you told, when we are using a single motor in all the three phases, but how does the value vary with time? And why does that vary with time? Because power factor should be constant in that case.
No. That you will come to understand when we'll, I mean, see, because then you have to understand the theory of induction motor. Theory of induction motor is a very interesting theory. It's inductance, because you know power factor depends on what? Resistance and inductance.
Yes, sir.
And power factor depends on not inductance but the reactance. R plus J XL. And what is XL? It is 2 pi F into L. Now, in an induction motor, there are two parts. One is the static part, that is the
Stator.
part stator, which is not rotating, but there is a rotor which is rotating.
Yes, sir.
That you will come to learn later on, that the frequency of the stator and the rotor is not same.
Yes, sir.
They are different. And that depends on the speed. Now, if that is the case, then your XL will be different. So then your XL will be different. No? XL is 2 pi FL and F depends on frequency. So your XL will vary with speed. That's how the induction motor impedance varies with speed. That will be all explained that later on when you will learn electrical machines.
Okay.
So that's why it varies with speed.
Sir, in lab,
Yes.
we did an experiment when we used the star delta starter, that initially the motor takes a huge power. Is that the reason why that it varies? Is
No.
the reason same for both of the things, or is it different?
You are yeah. Now let me. I mean, this is in a slightly different direction you are going, but still you raised a question that star delta starter. Actually, what you did is that you started the motor in which one, star or delta? Which one you started?
So star.
Star. Correct. You are absolutely correct. And then when you reach the nearly close to the full speed, you converted
Then we change
shift
into delta. Yes.
right. So starting by star, then shifting to delta. That means normal operation is in delta, starting is in star. Now why? It is very simple, because star means another delta normal operation. That means the voltage across the phase under the normal condition, let's say it is V. If you put it in star, then the voltage across phase is V by root 3. So that means at this starting condition, the voltage of the phase is only 57% of the total voltage. 1 by root 3 is roughly 57%.
Yes.
Now, so that your starting current will be reduced. Now, why the starting current is more? Your fundamental question is like that why the starting current is more? Now, starting current is more because now this is something going more into the machine's details, but I'll just briefly tell, because otherwise we have to explain the whole machine.
No, sir. I was asking that because initially the starting current was more. That was explained in the lab. So is
Right?
that the same reason why the power is varying? Are both the reasons same?
It has nothing to do with current. That is what I'm explaining. That why the starting current is more. That you have to understand.
Okay.
Because that your impedance, that is R and XL. Now R is constant. R doesn't vary with frequency, but your XL that varies with frequency. So when the motor starts, then the frequency is different, and the motor reaches its full speed, the frequency is different. So we can show that the initial condition, that impedance will be such that the current will be high, and when it reaches the full speed, it is such that its current will be low. So the impedance itself varies with speed, and impedance varies not because of resistance, but because of the inductive reactance and because of the variation of frequency. So initially frequency is one value, and at the final condition frequency has a different value. Because of that, the current changes as well as the power factor changes, both.
Okay, sir. Okay.
This is all variation of frequency because of speed, right? This is the fundamental reason, that variation of frequency because of speed. Well, now here the solution is very simple. What you have to do, you have to apply your knowledge of three-phase circuit. So find out what is the current in the three lines that I have already explained earlier in my last class, that how you do. So you do all these connections, right? Calculations. And finally you find out what is the line current. So let me see what is the line current. IA is this value. I am not going into the calculation, that you can do better. Then IC is this one. So what is IA and IC in this figure? This line current and this line, this line current. Then what is W1? It is AB, that is VA minus VB. And what is this CB? It is VC minus VB. Now, when we solve this problem, at least this example, we solved it by, this is 3-wire star, right? So we solved it by star to delta conversion. So we converted to star to delta. So first we converted the impedance to delta. Then we taken the 3 delta voltages. But delta voltages are not VA, VB and VC. They are VAB, VBC and VCA. And we have taken ABC phase sequence. So first one, VAB 0 degree, VBC minus 120, VCA minus 240. Now therefore, look at this W1. It is VAB is the potential coil voltage. What is the W2? It is VCB. But here, see, VCB is not there, but VBC is there. So VCB is just opposite to VBC. So what you do? You simply add in the phase angle 180 degree. Automatically it will be VCB. That means it will be 440, this one. 440, then angle will be minus 120 plus 180. It is, so here you see W1 reading, voltage drop is VAB, which is this one here. Then what is the current? IA. So IA is this one. So W1 voltage across PC, that is a potential coil, that is VAB. Current through CC, that is IA. So you have these two quantities. So power will be 440 multiplied by 20.58. Then angle between these two, which is 25.3. So cosine of that. What about W2? Voltage across PC is VCB, which is minus VBC. That means, as I said, this one, that is angle, we add 180 degree to make it minus. So this is the 440 with 60 degree.
ওটা দিয়ে ফোন করলে আমি পড়বো কি এইটা আর তো ওটা কোন কাজ করছিস তোর ট্রাভেল কিছু নিয়ে যেতে করিস কি দেখ
Then I see is this one. Then you take VCB as this. Then current is IC, so 440 multiplied by 14.75. Then the angle between these two, that is 60 minus 96.6. So that's the power. So basically then I repeat, how do I solve this problem? First you solve the circuit, find out what are the currents. Then step by step take each wattmeter and write down what is the voltage across the PC, what is the current through CC, and then take these individual quantities with the phase difference and calculate the power. You will never make a mistake if you go this one step forward in step by step. This is the same problem, but it is a delta. So again, what we do, we solve all the three currents. So basically we solve the two currents. So IA and IB. Why IA and IB? Because look at that. The current coil is in F line. So we calculate IA, and W2, the current coil is in line B. So we calculate IB. So here we have calculated, you see, IA and IB. Apply the same knowledge as discussed in our last class. Then look at the potential coil. This one is VAC. Typically, our three voltages are VAB, VBC, and VCA. So VAC is nothing but minus VCA. So what we do is as I have told you earlier, that it is simply add 180 degree to VCA. So similarly, once you do, then take W1. Always write down separately. This is my request, that write what is the potential across PC. This is VAC, which is minus VCA. So write down what is the phase angle. Actually, it is minus 240 degree, but we added 180 degree, so it becomes minus 60 degree. Then current through CC is IA, which is we have just now calculated here. Look at the mouse here. So that is it. So what is the power? 440 multiplied by 102.8. Then the angle difference between these two, that is a cosine of that. So this is. Similarly, W2, voltage across potential coil VBC. So here you don't require any minus because VBC is our cyclic order voltage. Current through CC is IB, which is calculated here. Take these two, then what is the power? 440 multiplied by current, and the angle between these two. How is it? Simply subtract. That means minus 120, then minus of this. That's it. So 4.9 degree. Cosine of that. You get the power. This is how all this we solve. Like this one is a very interesting problem. It's a 4-way star. Look at that. These W1 and W3, they are connected in a normal fashion, connected to C phase. But then W2, it is very interesting because here the current coil is not placed in any line. It is placed in the neutral. So when you calculate the power of W2, don't take the line current. You have to take the neutral current. So what we have done is that, you see, just like we have calculated that this is 4-way star, right? So very simple. Line current is phase voltage divided by phase impedance. Simple. Divide by this phase voltage by the impedance, you get the three currents. Straightforward. Then IN is IA plus IB plus IC. So you get this one. Sorry. So this one. So W1 reading, etc. is very simple. But interesting is W2. This one. So what do we take? We take the current in IN, neutral current. So our current becomes this one, not IA, IB and IC, but this one, IN, neutral current. And the voltage VNC, because we always take from the common point, NC. But we have to take it the phase voltage, that is VCN. So it is minus VCN. So this is the voltage VC. So we have to take minus of that. So add 180 degree to this. So if you look to W2, see here, VNC is minus VCN, is this one. Then current is neutral current. So what is the power? 254 multiplied by 10.2, and the angle between these two. That will be W2. Now, if somebody asks you, this is a very interesting question, and many people make a very confusing answer. In a balanced three phase, what is the power factor? Right? If somebody asks, the answer is very simple, because balanced three phase means all the three phases have same power factor. So that power factor is the balanced three phase power factor. If it is unbalanced, then three phases have different power factors. Then what is the three-phase power factor? Because as I have told, that you have an industry. Just always take a practical example. It will be clear, right? I say I am an industry owner and I take the power from West Bengal State Board. Please remember that for West Bengal State Board, I am a single customer. So they will see how much power I am drawing. By the way, I have a small question. Have you ever heard the term power factor correction? Have you heard it? Power factor correction. I think you have not heard it. Let me just explain a little bit. This is a very important practical issue. Say I am an industry, right? I am drawing power from West Bengal Board. And I am drawing a power of, let's say, 200 kilowatt. Is it enough to say that I am drawing 200 kilowatt? The answer is no. Why? Because it is also important that how much reactive power I am drawing from the system. And that depends on my power factor. Now I am telling you an example. Say I am drawing 100 kilowatt from the line. Another industry is also drawing 100 kilowatt from the line. But I am drawing 50 kVAR, that is kilovar. Another industry is drawing 10 kilovar. So I am drawing 50 kilovar. Another one is drawing 10 kilovar. Then what is the total volt ampere drawn by my industry and that other industry? In my case, it is root over 100 square plus 50 square. In that other industry, it is root over 100 square plus 10 square. So which one is higher? My industry. Now that volt ampere means that I am drawing much more current from the system, which means that this supply that the power company has to give it to me, they have to put much conductors of higher dimension. That makes a lot of cost. Moreover, that additional current has to come from the source. So that source current capacity has to be increased. So all power companies, they have a penalty clause. And this is something you remember. They have a penalty clause. That means if your power factor is high, you pay more. If your power factor is low, you pay less. So what industries do is that if the power factor becomes low, that means your inductive power is high. What we do is we connect a capacitor in parallel with the line. So what happens? The capacitor also draws capacitive power, that is reactive power. And now my industry is drawing inductive power, but they are opposite. Inductive power is positive. Sorry, reactive power is positive. Capacitive reactive power is negative. So total reactive power drawn is then sum of these two and it goes down. This is called power factor correction. Most of the industries do this to avoid the penalty clause of the power. So therefore, this reactive power is of immense importance for us. So in an unbalanced load, our three power factors are different. So when in power company wants to know what is the power factor of my industry, if it is a balanced load, then no issue. It is very easy. But if it is an unbalanced load, how do they calculate power factor? So there was a concept which is called average power factor. Average power factor. That means somebody said, take theta A, theta B, theta C. So then take the power factor of A, power factor of B, power factor of C, then divide by 3. But this is quite wrong. Why? Wrong in the sense that A phase can be inductive, B phase can be capacitive, C phase can be purely resistive. Then what happens? One phase has an inductive power, another phase has a reactive power, a capacitive reactive power, the third phase has zero reactive power. And then if you add these three, the total reactive power becomes very low. Whereas if you simply take the power factor PFA, PFB plus PFC by 3, you are not taking this into consideration. So I give an example. Say my power factor is 0.5, very low power factor, but A phase is inductive 0.5, C phase is capacitive 0.5, and B phase is resistive. So what happens? My power, Fs power becomes, reactive power. If it is 100 kilowatt, it is plus. Then C phase is capacitive. It becomes 100 kilowatt, but minus. B phase is resistive, 0. Then total kilowatt, 0. Right? So then what happens? If I simply take the 3 power factors, what is it? 0.5 plus 0.5 plus resistive means 1. So it becomes 2 divided by 3. So just simply average comes 0.7. Whereas actually the reactive power is 0. And when reactive power is 0, the voltampere and active power is equal, because voltampere is square root of watt square plus reactive power square. If reactive power is 0, means voltampere is equal to 1. That means actually the power factor is 1. So power factor is very high, but then average power factor is showing poor power factor. So then a company will penalize me, but I will not accept that, because I have to pay for it. So then we never define power factor by average power factor. We always calculate by what is called a vector power factor. That means we go by the basic definition of power factor. So first we make the summation of the active power of the 3 phases, whatever be the case, they may be different. So we take the 3 active powers. Here you can see on the screen. Then we take the 3 reactive powers. Here you can see on the screen. Now please remember, the sine cos theta is irrespective of whether theta is positive or negative, it will be positive. So they will be added, arithmetically added. Whereas sine theta will be either positive or negative depending on the angle, that is inductive or capacitive. So they will not be arithmetic addition, it will be algebraic addition. So once I do this, then I follow the simple logic. The numerator will be the total active power. Denominator will be the voltampere, which is square root of active power square plus the reactive power square. If you take this definition, there is absolutely no confusion about the power factor as actually drawn by the load. So if I am the industry, I cannot contest this calculation. So what this power company is now installed, it's called a vector power factor meter. They never install 3 different like this. These meters calculate 3 different phase powers as well as 3 different reactive powers, and then calculate this one. And accordingly, all this calculation of power and its charges, etc., are done. So let me show you one more problem which will be easy for you to understand. Oh no, this one, sorry. So what I do is, this is a delta connected load given, and this is the, and people is asking, what is the vector power factor for this one? Well, the answer is very simple. Because it is a delta connection, so you know the 3 line voltages which is across the 3 phases. Calculate individual phase active power and reactive power. Like write down the voltages, write down the impedances, calculate the currents as voltage divided by impedance, just like this. See AB, VAB is this, ZAB is this, so IAB is simply divide. Then what is the power? VAB into IAB and the angle between these two. Similarly, VBC and IBC. Similarly, VCA, this one, and ICA. By the way, there is a small catch here. Here the phase sequence is stated as ACB. When you solve a problem, please note what is the phase sequence given. If nothing is stated, take phase sequence as ABC. Otherwise, it will be stated just like this one. So what is being done here, you see, when we have written the 3 voltages, we have taken VAB as 0 degree, the reference. Then VBC is not minus 120, it is minus 240. And VCA is minus 120. This is because of the phase sequence being A, C, B. Please be careful when you get a problem to solve. And then simply calculate the three powers. So power factor here, see. Phase A, what is the watt? What is the var? Phase B, what is the watt? What is the var? Phase C, what is the watt? What is the var? So then, if you take the average power factor, you will find very interestingly that phase A is 0.707, phase B is 0.8, but phase A is lagging, phase B is leading. Phase C is 0.447, very low power factor, which is lagging. So if I take the average power factor, it will come 0.651, which is very poor power factor. But if I go for a vector power factor calculation, I take the total watt is this, total var is this, then put the equation, numerator is watts, denominator is square root of watt square plus var square. So power factor becomes 0.839, which is quite good power factor. So if I am an industry, I will pay much less if this is the power factor, if it is taken. Another interesting concept, if it is average power factor, this 0.651, I can never say whether it is lagging or leading. But for a vector power factor, I can always say that whether that industry, whether that has a leading or a lagging power factor. How? Looking at the var. Because we know that inductive and capacitive vars are of different polarity. So depending on the sign of the total var, I can say that the vector power factor is either lagging or leading. So that's another major advantage of representing power factor as vector power factor. So please remember this, that this concept of vector power factor, and why it is vector, this concept have come because you can see the power factor is calculated from the two components, watts and var, and if I draw them, they are not in phase, they are having a 90-degree phase difference. So that's why the name has come as a vector power factor. But it is not in that sense it is a vector, but since it has two components which are orthogonal to each other, so that's why the name has a vector power factor. Then it's just a very interesting concept that if it is a balanced three phase, yes, again I repeat, if it is a balanced three phase, can I measure power with only one wattmeter? The answer is yes. I don't require two wattmeters. What I do, I make the connection like this. I put the current coil in the A phase, and then I make the potential coil connection through a switch. If the switch is in position 1, this is connected to line B. If the switch is in position 2, it is connected to line C. So what I do is very simple. I make the connection, then I put the switch in point 1, I take the reading. Let's say it is 200. Then I put the switch in point 2, I take the reading. Let's say the reading is 100. So the total power is 300. As simple as that. And you can always ask, what is the proof of it? Well, look at position 1. What is the voltage across the potential coil? It is VAB. So here you see VAB into IA. What is the voltage across the potential coil when it is in position 2? It is VAC. So you see here VAC. So VAB is VA minus VB. VAC is VA minus VC. So I write down the entire expression. Then it becomes VA into IA. Right. Similarly, here it becomes second term. It is becomes VA into IA. Then the third term is VB plus VC. But if it is a balanced case, then VA plus VB plus VC is equal to 0. So it becomes minus VB plus VC becomes VA. So here the power equation becomes 3 times VA into IA. So if it is a balanced load, VA into IA becomes and the integration becomes the power of A phase. Since it is balanced, power will be same in the 3 phases. Multiplied by 3 means total power. So that means by having only wattmeter, I can measure the total three-phase power. So sometimes very tricky questions are asked in interview, that if it is a three-phase power measurement, how many wattmeters you require? Now this is a very tricky question. Right? If you say 2 wattmeters, the answer is correct. But then if you look at this figure, then actually correct answer is I can measure it even in wattmeter under one condition, that it is balanced load. So see, once the fundamentals are clear, all these sort of questions we can answer. So please remember this question. Again, I repeat that how many wattmeter is required to measure power in three-phase circuit? Immediately you should ask back a question, is it a balanced or an unbalanced load? Then immediately I can tell you the interviewer will not ask you the second question. They will understand that you know it. And another interesting connection, see, this is what we are showing, that just by connecting wattmeter in a different way, that this question is also asked. Achha, wattmeter always measures the active power, the watt, as its name suggests. Achha, can it measure reactive power directly? Well, earlier we have seen that it can measure reactive power indirectly. Can it measure directly? Directly means whatever the reading you are getting is equal to the reactive power. Is it possible? The answer is yes, that is also possible. I can measure reactive power with the help of wattmeter. How? Again, let me show you. Look, see this diagram. Now the wattmeter is connected in a very interesting way. That common connection is disconnected. But let's say, actually, if you look later on, these two CC terminals are always marked with a polarity. This polarity you will also have to remember, that all coils are always marked with a polarity. So two same polarity terminals are generally made the common terminal. But here we are making intentionally, they are different. But let's say these are the two same polarity terminals, this one and this one. So current coil reading will be this current, IA. What will be the potential coil reading? Because this is the polarity terminal, so it will be not CB, but it will be BC. If that is the case, then what is the reading of this wattmeter? It is current through the current coil, which is IA, and the potential across the potential coil, it is BC. Now, if I look at the phasor diagram, VA, VB, VC, these are the three voltages. VA, VB, VC, then three currents, IA, IB, IC, and I am saying it is balanced. Then what is VBC? It is VB minus VC. So VB, then this is minus VC, then this diagonal is VBC. So 120 degree between the three voltages. So VB and minus VC will have 60 degree. These two, this diagonal will bisect it, so it will 30 degree. So then what is the angle between VA and VBC? It is 90 degree here, this one. And what is the current through the current coil? IA. So that means this is the angle IA. So what is the wattmeter reading? VBC, which is VL, IA, which is IL, multiplied by cosine of the angle between these two, VBC and IA. So it is cos of 90 minus theta. So it is sine theta. So the result is VL, IL, sine theta. So see, this is a wattmeter, but it is giving the reading of VL, IL, sine theta, which is not active power, which is reactive power. So therefore, this is another aspect that is again asked, that can I measure, or can a wattmeter give a reading which is reactive power, not active power? Here also the answer is same. It is possible. So all these things that I am showing you today with this phasor diagrams and others, please remember, these are just not theory. These are so much practical oriented that this will be in your career as electrical engineer It will be very important. And particularly, I am telling in the interview, job interview, not maybe if you are looking for higher studies, that is different, but job interview, these questions are asked. So go through this part carefully. It will be extremely useful for you. That's the end of this this part of the lecture. So I will stop here. And if you have questions, now it is your turn. You can ask questions. Anybody has any question? Any questions, students? You will get the note, please remember. So don't forget about any confusion. Okay, so if there is no question, then I would like to thank you, all of you, for attending. And as I have done earlier, this note will be circulated to you. Thank you and have a good time. Good night.